A week ago last Monday night started a chain of events in which God made His presence felt at every turn. We wanted to share that with you, thank some people, and give God the glory. That Monday evening, October 22nd, I began having what can only be described as full-body muscle spasms. They weren't bad at first, and muscle spasms are part of the deal with ALS, so I figured it would pass with some rest, as it usually does. By 2 o'clock Tuesday morning, however, it became apparent that this was not something we had seen before. By 6 that morning the spasms were coming about every 10 minutes, and I couldn't even bend my knees. I have been blessed with my father's high tolerance for pain, but this was tough stuff. Linda called Windham Rescue and soon we had as many as 10 EMTs at the house assessing me for transport. We can't say enough good things about these guys. They were compassionate, professional and amazingly understanding in figuring out how to move me with the least amount of pain. When we arrived at the ER at Maine Med, we received more confirmation that God had us in His hands, as soon as we saw Seth Cedar and a friend of mine from high school, Joanne Orr, were both on duty. Not long after, the ever-present Shirley Saunders showed up and began praying with us. As all this was happening, Jackie Taylor was bringing Mag to join us at the hospital in our van, the Hopemobile. Thanks JT. When we finally got to a room in the ER, the doctors started running tests and operative saints started coming to support Linda and pray for me. By this time, they were hitting me with a variety of pain meds, so forgive me if I miss someone. I know Missy came in, Vicky Drew, Jim and Sue Duran, Bill Bridges and Dave Earl. During the more lucid period, when Andrew and Mickey Earl were with me, I remember telling Andrew that I had closed my eyes and saw Jesus walk up to me, put His hands on my cheeks and press His forehead to mine. A pretty comforting vision. Sue Duran stayed with us until after 1 the next morning, when I finally got admitted, and silently made up the railway bed they had brought in for Linda. Thanks Sue. Thanks to everyone who came that night, and in the days that followed, like Rob and Kathy Ho and the Michelsons. Thanks also to Bill and Terry Bridges for giving Matt a place to crash and feeding him, and to John Weller for hanging with Matt and giving him an ear. Special thanks also to Paula Fox for making arrangements to have our dog, Hope, boarded during this time. I was well enough to leave late that Friday, even though they still hadn't figured out the cause of the spasms. Vicky Drew and Diane McKean walked us out, followed us home and even went on a grocery run and delivered pizza to us. Thanks to both of them. Saturday morning we awoke to yet another invasion of angels, this time with hammers and power tools in tow. Over the past 5 years, our house has fallen into a state of disrepair because I just don't do what I used to. While we've been blessed with renovations to adapt the house to my disability, it just has been in need of some TLC. And that is just what it got that Saturday. Huge thanks to Greg Cushman, Jim Bernier, Bob Berry, Scott Dobson, Frank Emery, Rob Howe and Roy Michelson. Thanks to all the ladies who brought a feast for the workers as well. Jen Cushman, Judy Michelson, Kathy Howe and Carol Dobson. A special surprise on the day, and surely of God incidents, was that my brother-in-law, Jim Gergitis, showed up to install an invisible fence for Hope, our dog. Jim recruited Matt and together they installed the fence. Thank you Jim and Matt. And while I'm thanking Matt for Saturday, allow me to express how proud I am of him for everything he does day in and day out. He has shouldered the burden of my illness with a quiet grace beyond his years. We love you, buddy. Very special thanks to Wolf and Helene Lisi, who have blessed us in so many ways over the years. In spite of grieving the death of our brother, Helen called Linda while the gang was working on our house, and informed us of yet another blessing they were bestowing on us. We love you guys. Finally, there are no words to express how much I love the woman standing next to me. She was at her best when times get tough. Linda, you are simply amazing. In the wee hours of the Tuesday morning, when I was laying there in pain and unable to move, I must confess, I was fearful the enemy was having his way with me. But, from the first EMT that showed up at the house that morning, to the presence of Seth and Joanne in the ER, to the parade of saints who supported us through the long day and night, the doctors and nurses at Maine Med and Mass General who cared for me in the ensuing days, to the flock of angels and helpers who did what was needed at our house, God proved Himself, once again, to be faithful, gracious and loving. He took something the enemy intended to strike fear and doubt in our hearts and He used it to knit us even closer to Him and this church family. As Jen said last week, there is no way we can adequately thank everyone, but please know how very much we appreciate your thoughts, actions and prayers, not just through the past 2 weeks, but over the past 5 years. Thanks as well, to everyone, everywhere, who lifted us up in prayer. Prayers matter. Many of you know we have Isaiah 35:6 as our light verse. It occurred to me how appropriate the entirety of verse 35 is to this week where God turned fear and doubt into renewed faith and blessing. A broader reading of Isaiah 35 says, "With this news, strengthen those who had tired hands, and encourage those who had weak knees. Say to those with fearful hearts, be strong, and do not fear, for your God is coming to destroy your enemies. He is coming to save you, and when he comes, he will open the eyes of the blind and unplug the ears of the deaf. The lame will leap like a deer, and those who cannot speak will sing for joy. And a great road will go through that once deserted land. It will be named the Highway of Holiness. Evil-minded people will never travel on it. It will be only for those who walk in God's ways, and those who have been ransomed by the Lord will return. They will enter Jerusalem singing, crowned with everlasting joy. Sorrow and mourning will disappear, and they will be filled with joy and gladness." Thank you all for filling us with joy and gladness. God bless.